All right. Good morning, everybody. It's time for another edition of PreMarket PulseScan with yours truly, Dex, the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous PulseWave price trigger reports that we put in your hands each and every day, Monday through Friday, or should I say Sunday through Friday. All right. Another day, another dollar, another plan, another pip. You know how we do this. So jumping right into the thick of things, let's peep these markets, and then you know how we do it. We're going to get into some newsy news. We got to get into that news. News is very important. Remember, we talked about yesterday the difference between information and technicals. It's a big difference between the two. They are not the same. Information comes in various forms and in various ways. Technicals pretty much are set in stone. You know, the old saying, math doesn't lie, which is true, but unfortunately, math can be made to lie. Numbers can be massaged. Things can happen. And that is what we strive to expose here at PulseWave Trading, because we have to give you the tools that you need to be successful in your trading and investing. That's what we are about. And it just so happens that everything in life revolves around trading and the markets. Life principles that you apply to everyday life also extend to the trading world, and there are many comparisons that can be made with the life of a trader or full-time investor and just living one's life in general. Many principles, many principles. So today is now Wednesday, or as some like to call it, hump day. All right, we're midweek. Hopefully people have already gotten the cobwebs out and are ready to do business. If you waited until Wednesday to do business, then you missed Monday and Tuesday. Where have you been? So what we've been doing is trying to the best of our ability to deal with certain topics in a certain rhythm. So we started off dealing with the COVID-19 situation. I ended talking about the COVID-19 situation by exposing the origins of that. And then yesterday we exposed the origins of the whole lockdown phenomenon and how we have been relying on faulty information. We've been relying on incomplete and incoherent scientific methods and not using real scientific methods. Instead, we've been using the religion of science and totally avoiding and disregarding scientific method. There is a difference between the two. Science is not scientific method. Science is the religion of science and scientific method. It throws it out of the window. We'll get into that at some other point. But today I want to focus on a few extra little tidbits. And you want to be preparing yourself for this. Now, we talked about yesterday, I think we did it in the end of day report, talked about how I believe they're trying to squeeze as much juice out of the turnip before the market begins a retest of its lows. Those lows are not going anywhere. We have bearish pointers at the lows. Those pointers will not be ignored. Now, you can go for a whole entire year before coming back to the pointer. Pointers are not necessarily fulfilled immediately. Sometimes they can take a minute. They're a little bit different than gaps. Gaps usually are settled relatively quickly as compared to pointers. Pointers can take a little while longer to manifest. So we're going to be looking at some of that as well. You got it, Slingsters. Scientism. There you go. Matter of fact, what's up to all the live chatters? What's up, Kyle, Slingster? What's up, my man Frank and Frank M and Mark and R Good and Max and Black Rob? What up, Mike? What up, everybody? Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let's do this. Let's get into the digits. Let's look at these digits, and then we'll get into some other stuff. Okay, so here is the Dow. The Dow is now at 317 points, and I will tell you, the Dow futures had me going for a little bit because I was thinking that last night we could possibly manifest on the downside because of all of the crash alerts that we got, especially in the stock index futures themselves. So instead, what we got is we got a slight little head fake pullback, but we did not receive any production to the downside. All right, so the prior day's lows were not violated, not even in the least. Instead, the markets acted like they were going to roll over, and then we just got this explosion. So it's very, 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 very clear at this point that the market is not committed to a correction. It wants to run higher. I think it wants to suck in as many bulls as possible. The market is telling us right now it needs more fuel. All right, it needs more fuel if it's going to roll over. All right, so it can't roll over yet because it's not full. The plate is not full yet. It needs more bullish people to pile on and start bidding up the market so they can get nice and plump before it rolls over. Remember, the market is designed to punch as many people in the face as possible. The market is a bully. All right. It doesn't care that that is your lunch money that it just took. Doesn't care. It wants to punch as many people as possible. It wants to hurt as many people as possible. The market is like your enemy, but this enemy is like a shark. All right, you're deep sea diving, and here comes a shark. Not just any old shark, but a great white shark. All right, and it wants to eat you because it's hungry. Or this is a bull who is angry, and you just so happen to be wearing red, and it's charging at you, and it wants to just dig its horns deep into your chest cavity. Why does it want to do it? Does it hate you? Is that why it wants to do it? No, it's a bull. It's what it does. It's in its nature. You're wearing red. It's mad and it's charging and it's going to thrash. It's just what it does. The shark doesn't hate you or dislike you. It's just hungry. And you happen to look like a sea turtle. Therefore, it's charging and is going to bite. That's how the market is. All right. It's going to punch as many people in the face as possible. All right. Another way to look at it is the market is like Mike Tyson in his prime, and you just finished talking about his mama right before the match, and now he's angry, and every punch he throws at you is going to be a haymaker because he is trying to take your head completely off of your body. That's the market. We call that part of the market volatility. Because now the market is angry. It's swinging back and forth, bucking like that bronco, bucking like that bull. You trying to ride that bull, you're a bull rider, and the bull is trying to throw you off of it. You're trying to stay on. It wants you off. Only one of you can win. All right. So these are all the different phases and faces of the market. Right now, the market is on some old pivoting type stuff. It's pivoting on you. All right. And Euro stepping on you. Okay. And what it wants to really do is dunk on you. How does the market dunk on you? Well, before you can dunk the ball, you first have to rise up, don't you? You got to rise up. You got to elevate. You got to get to that 40-inch vertical. Or if you got even more mad hops than that, you might get up to a 70-inch vertical. You can fly. You Superman. All right. And then what does it do? It dunks on you. Once it gets to a certain height, it dunks on you. You know you've been dunked on because you see the ball go through the net at extreme speeds. That's the market selling off after it's taking you up to the top of the mountain and dropped you off. Can you imagine? What if the baboon was evil in The Lion King when he held up Simba? What if he let him go and he plummeted off of that cliff? Well, that's the market. You're Simba and the market is the baboon, except for this baboon is not a real baboon. He is his uncle. It's Simba's uncle dressed like a baboon, and he drops you off the cliff. That is the market. And you're falling off the cliff. All right, so this is where we are. This is warfare, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope you brought your M16s. NASDAQ 100 is up 101.5 points at 94.02 1/4. 94 handle is a very important handle for this NAS crack because if it can hold it, we're going to run even more. E-mini S&P 500 up 35.5 points at 29.54 even. And the Russell, which I made my hustle, is up 20.7 points at 1328.2. All right. I was just sweating. I knew the market was going to stop me out, but it did not stop me out. And I did not move my stop. Now, here's a little tidbit for you guys. All right. Let me put it to you a different way. Let's see here. Okay. So you know how the reports come out every day, right? So when I see these narrow range days, these inside days, what I'll do is I will not move my stop, even though the initial recommended stop does change every day for the most part. I won't move it because what ends up happening is if you move your stop, you will get stopped out and then you'll get clipped and triggered on both sides of the market. So what I do is on those narrow range inside days, I will not move my stop because my initial one hasn't been violated. Even though the new stop is higher, I am not in profit. So I really don't move my stop if I'm not in profit. All right. If I don't have profit, I don't move the stop. I wait till I'm in profit and the market starts moving in my favor. Then I move my stop. All right. That is common sense. That comes with experience in watching these markets. If it's a narrow range day, nope. No, there's no sense in moving your stop because you're going to get clipped. So I left it in place. All right. Now, if you were new and you were flat and you decided to get into the market on last night's report, what would have happened to you? Unfortunately, you would have been clipped. All right. You would have got clipped. All right. We got to keep it 100. Got to keep it a buck. You'd have got clipped in that Russell. All right. The markets tend to do that at times. They will clip you. And there's not a whole lot you can do about it. You just have to get in there, take your lumps, and do what you got to. Now, there is a pro and con to that. The pro, though, is this. If you were using the loaded report, it wouldn't have really made a difference because you would have got clipped, but you would have got right back into that long position. So it really wouldn't have been no skin off your back. You would have been all right. But if you were using the standard report, you would have been penalized, unfortunately. Now, there's a reason for that, though. And there's a reason why the system is designed the way it is. Let me explain. It's designed for you to get into the market based on the signals that the system gives you. If you are late to the party or you ignore the initial signals, it's designed to give you one last chance to get up in there. And if you miss that one, then you run the risk of getting in at the tail end of the move. And if that happens, you usually suffer a market pullback or correction. and then you get stopped out. That's the nature of the game, and there's nothing you can do to filter that out. That's why it's important when you get your reports to put your orders in ahead of the market. If you wait until the market's moving, for the most part, it's already too late. The market has left the station. The train has left the station. The plane has pulled off from the airport. It's taxiing down the runway and about to lift off. That's why you got to be in when you're supposed to be in, not wait until something's moving and then you try to catch it. It's not what we do. All right, so Bitcoin Futures Composite Index up $125, trading at 98.05. Remember, I did tell you that it looked like the Bitcoin was going to just stay elevated here, just float around for a little bit, not really going higher, not going lower, just chilling, maintaining a bullish outlook. Well, that's what's happening right now. Nat gas is up 3 cents at $1.86. Crude oil up 80 cents at $32.75 a barrel. Your long bond is up 7/30 seconds at 178 and 27/30 seconds. Gold is trading at 1750.7, up $5.10. Now, I will say I got triggered last night long in the gold, so I am now long the gold futures, and I am long the silver futures. Yay me, right? All right, so silver right now is up 2 cents at $17.93, and the US dollar index is down 23 pips, and it's trading at 99.13. So it's doing exactly what we anticipated it to do. So I'm not really surprised there. I think gold is just going to be chilling for a minute. All right, the next thing that we got here on the list is the euro, which is benefiting slightly from the dollar's pullback. It's up 32 pips at 109.84. And the pound sterling is up a pip at 122.83. And the Aussie is up 16 pips at 65.83. Canadian dollar is down 63 pips at 138.74. The euro yen is up 39 pips at 118.08. And the dollar yen is down 16 pips at 107.55. Kiwi is up 60 pips at 61.39. Going over the food, beans are up 3 3/4 points at 8.46 1/4. Your corn is down a point at 3.20 1/4, and your wheat is up 5 at 5.03 3/4. So maintaining a presence above the $5 mark in your wheat. So we'll see if that is going to resume, or are we going to get something a little different? It all depends. The grain markets are subject to a lot of different things. They move up, they move down. You got planting season, harvest season. You got so much going on, and a lot of different factors. Supply and demand, all that good stuff. All right. So now we've gotten that out of the way. Here's what you need to be mindful of today as the day progresses. Here is our overnight market news. All right. So your boy Buffett, he's in the news. Buffett needs to listen to Buffett again. Investor was wrong to recommend tech-heavy S&P 500. Berkshire Hathaway shareholder says he is forgetting what gruesome looks like by fawning on the index and some obvious winners of today, wrote Tony Schreier in a company blog post. Wow. Has the mighty fallen? Thousands of sports fans who can't gamble on their favorite teams are reportedly flocking to the stock market instead. Charles Schwab, E-Trade, and Interactive Brokers together added 780,000 new customers in March or April. First of all, that right there is kind of a slap in the face and a little disrespectful, because they just disrespected the entire retail industry. They love doing that. They always diss the retail industry. If it wasn't for the retail industry, you would have zero liquidity in these markets. You need the speculator. The speculator gives liquidity. Cut it out. And to break them down and call them gamblers, I mean, that is so disrespectful. I've never betted on a sports game in my life and don't attend to. I do not like gambling. I hate gambling. All right. I don't gamble for money because I can't manage or control the outcome, save for a couple of things. I do know that you can make a living being a professional poker player. There are certain techniques and things you can use to gain an advantage. And yes, you can literally do that full time and professionally and make a pretty good income. However, pretty much just about every other sport within that classification is exactly what it is, gambling, and you have no way to manage or control outcomes. All right. So to assume that traders are nothing more than gamblers is disrespectful, because there are plenty of us that do not gamble. We do not go to, I've never even been to a casino a day in my life, and I would not. I do not take joy and pleasure in throwing money away that took me a lot of effort to create. Do you know how difficult and near to impossible it is to even extract a penny out of the global markets? They're assuming that it's so easy to trade and make money. If it was that easy, everybody and their mother would be doing it, and there'll be no need for me to even have this YouTube channel. But that's not what is happening. That is not reality. Trading consistently, being consistently profitable, do you know how difficult that is? Do you know how many hours I work a day on my craft? Are you kidding me? To break it down to nothing more than gambling is disingenuous, it's wrong, and it's disrespectful to us professionals. All right? It is wrong. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I am the Robin Hood of trading. All right. I extract money from these markets consistently on a daily basis, and I teach others to do the same. That's why y'all don't like me out there on Wall Street. According to them, I'm spilling too many secrets. So I think that whole part right there was just so disrespectful. Saying you can't gamble, so you're gonna come over here and gamble in the market. Really? So it's called investing when they do it. But when you do it, it's called gambling. So when the financial advisor recommends something because he has on a suit and a tie and may have a degree, it's, oh, that's just business. That's wisdom. No. How is it different when they do it? How is it? Why even have a market then? If you're saying that the market has been reduced to nothing more than gambling, why does the Fed throw trillions of dollars at our market? Why prop up the market at all if it's nothing but a casino? Why does it even exist? Why do companies even go public? Why even raise money so that you can build out your research and development and bring more product lines to market? Heck, why does any company need to have an equity? Why do they need to have stocks? If it's nothing more than gambling, then we have no economy. You had no real economy, no fake economy. Why do economies even exist? You see what I'm saying? You think that take things to the logical conclusion. It's absolutely ridiculous. And yes, it is offensive. The coronavirus pandemic could cost the global economy a nightmarish $82 trillion over 5 years, a Cambridge study warns. The cost projections are based on 2019 gross domestic product volumes, which stood at 69.2 trillion for the world's 19 leading economies. Oh, so you mean you didn't think about that before you shut down the whole world's economies? You didn't think about that, did you? Because you utilized an underaged, underdeveloped cerebral cortex. So you get what you deserve when you do that. Once again, I don't want to believe that our elected officials are incompetent, dumb, and stupid. But so far, they haven't been able to prove me wrong. Now, have they? This is the second time, ladies and gentlemen, that they've done this. Do you know what the first time was? The first time was during the 2008 financial crisis. As a matter of fact, they're responsible for the 2008 financial crisis because they were relying on a kid, but this was a college kid though. They were relying on a college kid's risk to reward algorithm that said, according to my algorithm and my historical back testing, we've never went 6 Sigma before, or 5, even 5 Sigma. We only go 4 Sigma, and that's only the most historical times on record. And this person was so wrong because we didn't just go to 4 Sigma or 5 Sigma or 6 Sigma. We went to 7. And that's when the algorithm blew up. And that's when the real estate crisis came to light and the real estate market blew up. Because they relied on a college kid's equations. They relied on his algorithm, even though his algorithm had never been used before or tested in real time. They decided that's what we're going to do. We're going to go there. So this is twice, America, twice that you've done this, twice that you've relied on some kid's science project. Yeah. 2 different models, broken models. That is the second time you've done that, America. But wait, there's more. Actually, that's not the second time. It's the third time you have relied on flawed modeling. The United States, 3 strikes, you're out. This is the third one. You're out. This is it. America is on its way out because this is the third time it has relied on a faulty logic, a faulty model. The first time was the long-term capital management crisis. Remember that? Oh, how soon we forget. But you thought it was all right the first time. The first time we kind of gave you a pass. Because on the first one, the long-term capital management, you had Nobel Prize winning physicists and mathematicians that said, we're going to make our own hedge fund, our own mutual fund. We're gonna show y'all how it's done. We're gonna show you real Wall Street people how it's done. People who have never traded a security a day in their lives, but because they had Nobel Prizes in physics and mathematics, it was just assumed that if you had the right math, that you could be consistently profitable in these markets. Well, they were wrong. Not only were they wrong to the tune of 1 billion wrongs. They were underwater $1 billion. They blew up because we didn't learn anything from this one. This was the first lesson. Their computer model suggested that we never go this much out of whack. We never get this much on the spreads. We never get to this sigma band right hither and thither. There's never this much of a dislocation. There's never this much of a widening and arbitrage. This has never happened, and it never will. We've tested it. It will never happen, and it never has. Therefore, we can do this and do that and be okay. Again, long-term capital management exposed the truth about the majority of hedge funds and private equity funds out there. You know why they exist? They exist to exploit anomalies within the given market space. Yes, ladies and children, they exploit anomalies. Those anomalies only last but a brief time before the government changes rules and regulations and laws and closes it, or different kind of imbalances within the global economy changes it. And then they're no more. They have to close their doors or they go bankrupt because they lose everything. Well, that's what happened with long-term capital management. All right, they blew up. You had Nobel Prize winning mathematicians and physicists that couldn't make money in the market. As a matter of fact, they lost $1 billion. And what you don't know, because they tried to keep it under, on the down low, they almost crippled the U.S. economy. They almost bankrupted the U.S. economy. All right? Nobel Prize mathematicians and physicists couldn't extract a dime from the market. They had a faulty system, a faulty model, okay? A faulty model. But they said it was all of that, and people believed them because they had distinguishing titles after their name. Professor, PhD. Look at my accolades. Look at my awards. Look at all of the things I have achieved. My head is bigger than yours. My forehead is bigger than yours. That's what they were dealing with. But guess what? They proved that they were incompetent, stupid, and dumb. They had never traded anything a day in their life, didn't understand anything about the mechanics of trading, and they blew up. So if they blow up, what's going on? What are your chances, right? Well, now the markets have morphed themselves and changed into something else. It's no longer a caterpillar. It's now a butterfly. It's all algorithms. And just because there's an algorithm pushing the market around doesn't mean the algorithm is even making any money. You need to understand that. High frequency trading is not analogous to profitability. All right? Understand that. That is not a key. Speed has nothing to do with it. All right? So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. 3 times, 3 strikes, you're out. Long-term capital management, flawed model. That was strike number 1. 2008 mortgage crisis, strike 2, flawed model. That's the second flawed model. They didn't learn from the first one. We did it again. And now here we are in 2020, and yet we've done it for a third time, relying on a flawed model from a teenage child with an underdeveloped brain. We have done this 3 times in this country, ladies and gentlemen. Each time we did it, it had catastrophic results. And each time we did it, it got worse and worse and worse. Long-term capital management taught us nothing, even though it took $1 billion of the government and taxpayer money to bail them out. 2008, the world learned nothing, even though that one was even bigger, like 100 times bigger. Now here we are, and we're facing trillions now. Now we've gotten even 3 times this. When are we? Vote the bums out of office. That's all I gotta say. All right, they have now destroyed the global economy. You should have known they weren't going to quit. They weren't going to stop until they destroyed the economy. We're talking about Ivy League people. They have Ivy League educations. They have doctorates. But see, here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. You got people running the economy that have never even so much as owned a lemonade stand. They've never sold anything in their life. The only thing they sold in their life was their souls. That's it. They've never run a business. They've never run a business. They've never run a successful business. They've never employed people. They've never had employees. They never held someone else's financial security in the palm of their hands. They've never done that. They never paid nobody's rent, paid nobody's mortgage. All right? So they don't know what they're doing. They have no proven track record. If you can't run a lemonade stand, how can you run the country? Why are you even existing? Why are you there? They don't need to be there because they can't run anything. You can't run your municipality. You can't run your state or your city, your local government. Wherever these officials reside, you will see ruin. Some of them are career politicians and been in office for 30 years, and their districts are in shambles for the past 30 years. No change, just different rhetoric every election cycle. That's it. Flawed models, ladies and gentlemen. Flawed models. Flawed models. An Apple whistleblower has publicly decried the company for violating fundamental rights after Siri recorded users' intimate moments without consent. Although Apple apologized and suspended the program last year, whistleblower is calling on privacy regulators to punish the tech giant. Here's why the tech giant will not be punished. This information is not news. It is not new. All right. This information has been around for quite some time. There are multiple videos on social media exposing Siri and all the other systems like it. So this is not new. And no, Apple will not be punished because don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you probably didn't know this. So let me break it down for you. Facebook, Apple, all of those guys, all your social media, all of your smartphone people, everybody, it doesn't matter. Those devices are backdoored to all of the federal governments around the world. They can listen to you. They can look at you in real time. They can turn on your camera on your phone remotely. They can turn on the speaker in your phone remotely. They can listen to you. They can track you. They can already see and hear you. Where have you been? This is not new news. That's why there will be no punishment. There will be no punishment. No one will go to prison. So don't hold your breath. Deutsche Bank CEO says bank must be more profitable before consolidating. The bank, which is undergoing a major overhaul after 5 years of losses, is cutting 18,000 jobs. Let me rephrase that for you because I think I think they wrote that incorrectly. The bank is undergoing a major overhaul after 5 years of fraud and malfeasance, misappropriation of funds, manipulation. That is why they're in trouble, and that is why they're dealing with losses. Remember, Deutsche Bank is the one that was pimping the LIBOR. Or have we forgotten? Do not feel sorry for Deutsche Bank, but do feel sorry for the 18,000 people that are going to lose their jobs. 18,000. Chinese smartphone maker was at Xiaomi reports 13.6% rise in first quarter revenue. Sales rose to $7 billion even as demand for smartphones plunged amid the coronavirus pandemic. Britain's Rolls-Royce to lay off 9,000 jobs. What? The British engine makers said it would need to cut jobs to make annual cost savings of $1.59 billion as it seeks to cope with the current downturn in air travel. All right, Rolls-Royce, there it is. I guess you don't have rich people balling out of control, huh? Making it rain on the on the foreign cars, right? All right, so earnings keep coming. Lows and Target are highlights, and the MBA mortgage application reports are due. All right, so that's all the stuff that transpired in your overnight. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the time of the broadcast where if you have not already smashed that like button, what's wrong with you? Get your life. This is the time, ladies and gentlemen, where you need to go get a cup of coffee. You need to be sitting down somewhere because we're about to go deep. You're going to need to put on your big boy panties if you are so inclined, and your big girl super Timberlands and wife beaters. Notice how I switched that all up. So you see if you was paying attention. Because we're about to go in, we're about to go deep. We got to go deep. We got to deal with some stuff. We got to air some stuff out. I hope you guys are ready. Now, I started today's live talking about the 3 strikes and we're out. I also told you the other day that the United States is on its last leg. It's about to topple. It's about to bow out gracefully from being a world superpower because of all the fraud and mismanagement. Well, that is by design. All right. It has to bow out in order for your new phoenix to rise up. In addition to that, we talked about this morning the 3 strikes. We talked about 3 times where this country has relied on failed models, failed systems, systems that were never tested in reality. They never stood the test of time. And we have relied on those. All right. There have been whistleblowers or would-be whistleblowers trying to blow the lid off of these things, and to no avail. They have struggled in doing so. No one has wanted to listen to them. They've been ostracized. They've had to suffer a loss of reputation and career. Some of them have even lost their lives. But here we are. This is the 3rd time we've relied on a failed model, a model that was never tested. We've relied on people that had no experience in the real world, only academics. Every time this country relies on academics, there is always hell to pay. I think that says something about our educational system in this country. When you have these Nobel Prize winning people with all these titles and degrees after their names, and then they prove to be dumb and stupid and incompetent. But we rely on them because they have all these names, all these things as acronyms after their names. So they got to be smart, right? So-and-so graduated from MIT, the head of his class. So-and-so graduated from Harvard, at the head of their class. So-and-so graduated from Yale, at the head of their class. One of the reasons why we rely so heavily on these acronyms after people's names is because we've been duped into believing that they are smart. Just because an individual has a brain capacity to memorize a lot of data, all that makes them is a computer, a glorified computer, a computer with a heart and a brain. Information is just that, information. Information has to be broken down and processed. That is where we get knowledge to become wisdom. And that only happens with real world testing. All right. You gain wisdom through application, not through theory, not through theory. Theories are just nothing. They are worthless. They're just theories. Theories will stay theories until they can become a proven fact in the real world through real world application. If you cannot do it, if it cannot stand the test of time in the real world, then your hypothesis is incorrect. And you have to move on to another one. Your theory is incorrect when the world has proven it invalid and wrong. But see, what happens is our intellectuals in society pay no price when they're wrong. No, not only can they be wrong, they're allowed to be wrong with devastating consequences to everyone else, and they are never held accountable. We hold no one accountable in this country. No one. You know who we hold accountable in this country, though? We do hold accountable people in this country, but it's the poor. The poor people are always held accountable for their actions. If a poor man goes into a liquor store and robs it because he's hungry and needs to feed himself and his children, he will promptly be arrested and sent to prison. But if an egghead with a large forehead and ivory tower puts together a flawed model, which the governments of the world take as gospel, apply said flawed model in real world activities, and it fails and breaks down, the egghead suffers no consequences and takes no responsibility whatsoever. Now, think about that for a minute. Think about that. Memory does not equal intelligence. But Nevertheless, that is what we push here. Memorization. You are pushing out little computers. All right. They can win at a game of trivia, or they can go on Jeopardy and win because they can answer all the questions because they have memorized everything they've learned in school. That is not wisdom. That is not understanding. And all of your knowledge, you're to get understanding. All right. You got to get understanding. Because you can repeat something doesn't mean you've understood what you've repeated. It just means that you're a parrot and you can repeat things that you hear. You can regurgitate. Regurgitation is not intellect. Knowledge is just knowledge. In the raw, knowledge is information. Information is nothing until you can turn it into something. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. Let me break it down for you. So just knowing that it's going to rain today, heavy rain and thunderstorms are forecast. You look outside, it's gloomy. You can see it getting black and dark outside, like it's nighttime and it's 12 noon. You can see and hear the thunder clouds. You can see lightning and hear thunder. You know it is going to rain. You have the knowledge that it's going to rain. You were told ahead of time that it is going to rain. You have that information. You have that knowledge. But that is worthless to you if you go outside unprepared with no umbrella, no galoshes, no raincoat, no rain hat, nothing. Or how they say it over, do they still say it like this in the UK? You forgot your rubbers. You don't have your rubbers. So you go outside and you're unprepared. Now, is that because you didn't have the information? Is that because you didn't have the right knowledge? Now, remember, our elected officials are always screaming, we need knowledge. They say we need education, more education, more education, more education. The problem with all the problems of the world is just lack of education, lack of education, lack of education, lack of education. That's it. No, what you're saying is they just needed more information. Information is useless. You heard the weatherman say it was going to rain and thunderstorm, but you were not able to process that information because you don't have any wisdom to go along with it or understanding. You don't know how to apply what you've heard. You can regurgitate what you've heard. As a matter of fact, you can regurgitate the entire weather segment on the radio verbatim, but you don't know how to apply it. You lack wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So you go outside and you get soaking wet. And people look at you like, didn't you know it was going to rain? Of course you did. You were told it's going to rain. You regurgitated it. You said what was going to happen. But you don't have the wisdom and the knowledge to know what to do with that information. You had never been in a situation to test the information and to learn what to do. You don't have the wisdom because you've never been exposed to rain because you were born and raised in a country that it never rains. So you heard all of that, but you didn't know what to do because rain is alien to you. You've never had to be exposed to rain. You've never been caught in a rainstorm. You've never been wet because of the sky. So now that you are in a place where it does rain, you have no information on what to do about it. You heard it said that it was going to rain, but you don't know what that means. Now you do. The first time you go outside and get wet, now you've gained understanding. Now you can say, oh, okay, when the weatherman says it's going to rain and thunderstorm, now I understand what that is. Now I get it. Okay, I understand now. So the next time you see that cloud formation and you hear the weatherman say, get ready for torrential downpours, you know that you need to do something. You don't just repeat what he said. Repeating what the weatherman said will not keep you dry. But the understanding of what the weatherman is saying will give you the correct information and understanding to remain as dry as possible. You see what I'm saying? So our educational system needs a total overhaul because we have been relying on repetition and regurgitation, a repetition of regurgitation. That's it. If you can repeat everything I just said, oh, that means you understand me. No, it doesn't. It just means that you were able to parrot what you heard. It does not mean you understood a thing. Hearing is not the same thing as understanding. You dig? So because of that, we think that people that got degrees after their names are intelligent people and that they have real world experience. You don't. If you're just a professor, an academic, you don't unless you have gone out there and done the darn thing. You just know theory. Theory and real life applications sometimes are not married. They're not the same. Real world can differ and widely from the classroom. All right. So this is the conundrum that we are in this country. Therefore, we lack the capacity to even question things anymore. And that's because we have been conditioned to think and believe that our elected officials, that our government is holy, is godly. We believe that our government is acting on our best interests. Our government would never do that. They would never do such a thing. That's ridiculous. No, blah, blah, blah. Even though you have decades of evidence to suggest otherwise, you still say, I don't believe that. I don't believe that, and I'm not going to inquire. I'm not going to research. I'm not going to look into it. I'm just going to say, I don't believe it because I am now having an emotional reaction to the information that is being spoken to me because in my mind, I can't even bring myself to go there because it's too painful and too difficult. I don't even want to process that. I want to remain happy. I want to remain in my bubble. So I will not go there. All right. This is where we are. And with that said, this is why it's possible for fascism to not only come to be, but to flourish. Those who created this country chose freedom with all of its dangers. And do you know the riskiest part of that choice they made? They actually believed that we could be trusted to make up our own minds in the world of differing ideas, that we could be trusted to remain free even when there were very, very seductive voices taking advantage of our freedom of speech, who were trying to turn this country into the kind of place where the government could tell you what you can and cannot do. That is a quote from Nat Hentoff. We are fast becoming a nation, nay, a world of book burners. 1984, Brave New World. You Are Here, Fahrenheit 451. I quoted all of these things in yesterday's broadcast. While on paper, we're technically free to speak, technically, at least according to the U.S. Constitution. But in reality, however, we're only as free to speak as the government and its corporate partners, such as Facebook, Google, or YouTube, may allow. That's not a whole lot of freedom, especially if you're inclined to voice opinions that may be construed as conspiracy. All right. So if it's conspiratorial or dangerous, well, take David Icke, for example. Now, you may not like David Icke. You may not even agree with David Icke. But doesn't he deserve his freedom of speech? Shouldn't he be allowed to say whatever he wants to say, even if you disagree with it, even if you think it is batty, nutty, false, whatever? Shouldn't we be prepared to defend each other's right to free speech? I don't have to agree with him. I don't have to agree with a Nazi or a skinhead, or a Ku Klux Klan member. I don't have to agree with any of that stuff. But they do deserve the right to voice their opinions. I don't have to listen to it. But why should I say, no, you shouldn't be allowed to do that? You shouldn't be allowed to say that. Why can't a Ku Klux Klan member have a YouTube channel and spit all his stuff? Why can't he? Freedom of speech. You don't have to go to his YouTube channel. You don't have to listen to him. You don't have to watch that. Not at all. You don't. We live in a world where, at the end of the day, truth will always bear itself out. All right. So they have a right to talk, just like you do. You have a right to say, I believe in little green aliens and gray aliens. I believe in the Easter Bunny. I believe in the Great Pumpkin. The Great Pumpkin comes every holiday on Halloween and brings candy to the little good boys and girls. I believe in Santa Claus. As a matter of fact, you guys don't believe me, but Santa Claus took me for a ride on his sleigh. That's right. And he even let me feed Rudolph. And yes, Rudolph's nose does glow very red at night. And I can tell you, I believe that with every fiber of my being. Now, you can laugh at me. You can say this dude needs medicine, but that is your prerogative, right? You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to watch my channel. You ain't got to do none of that. Tune me out. I'm a nut. Don't listen to me. But do I deserve to be censored? Do I deserve to be censored off of the internet? So you're saying I don't, it's not my right to have a YouTube channel, to have a Facebook page. No, that's hate speech. So if I make up a YouTube channel called Burn the Easter Bunny, and my belief system is that Easter bunnies are evil, Easter bunnies are responsible for all the missing children in the world. I have video evidence of an Easter bunny running away with a small child in his Easter basket, and that he painted the child to look like one of his Easter eggs in the Easter basket, and that I have evidence that the government is ignoring. The Easter bunny must be stopped. The only way you can catch the Easter bunny is when he comes out once a year on Easter. How many of you are with me? Let's take up arms against the Easter bunny. And then I'm selling you t-shirts saying, kill the Easter bunny. And let's say I have 1 million subscribers on my YouTube channel called Kill the Easter Bunny. And I have 1 million of those people that subscribe to my channel and watch me every day. Every day I have 1 million views, right? Should I be banned because what I'm saying is hate speech, because there's some people in the world that love the Easter Bunny, and I'm saying, no, we need to kill the Easter Bunny? Why should I be silenced? Especially if you truly believe that someone, what they're saying is false. Why do you even need to pay attention to them? By the mere fact that you are addressing me at all, you're giving credence to what I am saying. But if you ignore me, then guess what? Only those that believe me will continue to listen to me. Doesn't matter. Anything that's false, you don't have to give any energy to, because it's false. And it's going to prove itself to be false. Real world testing is the greatest tool that we have. So if someone's spitting something that's false, and it's common sense that it's false, just ignore them. Maybe they'll go away on their own because no one's listening. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to use all of this energy to marginalize them. The only time that you see freedom of speech violated and you see all this censorship is because people are telling the truth or getting too close to the truth. Remember what we talked about yesterday? You got to put a wall around the truth, and then you have to put soldiers on the top of the wall, and soldiers in front of the wall, and soldiers behind the wall, and you got to line the wall with C4 explosives and lasers and put nuclear warheads in it. And you want to make it so impossible for people to get to the truth. That's when you start seeing censorship, because what the people are saying is upsetting your narrative, because it's exposing the holes in your narrative. That's the only reason why you want censorship. A government should never want censorship, because truth is always greater than fiction. Case in point, I come out with a video saying, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I have breaking news here for you. I have just uncovered a terrible conspiracy. Everyone's like, well, what is it, Dax? What did you uncover? I uncovered that Donald Trump and George Bush and Barack Obama are plotting against us. How are they plotting against us, Dax? What are they doing? They've come up with a plan to ban marshmallows, and they have another plan to put peanut butter in everybody's house. They've already said that they're going to put peanut butter in every kid's house who's allergic to peanuts and peanut butter, but they're only focusing and targeting children that have a deadly adverse reaction to peanuts. So this is the plan. Everyone's going to wake up tomorrow morning. They're going to go about their day, and whatever your favorite food or snack is in the morning, it's going to be laced with peanut butter. And Barack Obama and Donald Trump and George Bush are personally going to do this themselves. Everyone will be like, dude, what you're saying sounds so ridiculous. What are you talking about? And people would tune me out. And guess what? Trump doesn't have to address me. Obama ain't got to address me. Bush don't have to address me, because what I'm saying is so outrageous and nutty and stupid that it doesn't make any sense. So I will be, you don't have to ban my channel. You don't have to censor me. But now check this out though. Let's flip this. What if after I made that video, what if that video went viral? And what if after the video went viral, every media outlet in the mainstream media started covering my video? They brought up a panel of experts to say why what I'm saying is absolutely absurd. There must be something wrong with me. They bring a psychologist in, and this is taking up the 24-hour news cycle nonstop. They're covering my video like it was 9/11, right? They're talking that look that they're doing the man on the street interviews, and they're putting all this energy into my ridiculous video. What do you think the outcome of all that would be? People would start to say, I know what he said sounds absolutely just boondogglish, but why is the state using so much manpower and energy talking about such a dumb thing? This doesn't make any sense. When you start to think, even just for a second, even in the back of your mind, that hey, maybe what he's saying may have some truth to it after all. Why are they going through this? And then the next thing you see, the SWAT team, ascending on my home, live footage like they did with OJ on the turnpike. Well, you got live footage them raiding my house so they can come and arrest me. You see all this manpower for a stupid video. Wouldn't that make people start to think? Wouldn't and let's say in the video I ended it by saying, oh, and by the way, you guys are gonna know that what I'm saying to you, I know I don't have long, but they're gonna come, they're gonna have the SWAT come get me because this information was classified and top secret. And they do exactly what I said they're gonna do in the video. Wouldn't that make me look extremely credible all of a sudden? Regardless of what my message was. All that manpower. Then you hear, okay, breaking news, Facebook has decided that they're going to delete his Facebook page. We got another one. YouTube just said they're going to delete. They've banned and deleted his channel. Social media has gotten rid of him. The U.S. government, Department of Homeland Security, has also taken down his website, so you don't have to worry about this guy anymore. All that energy, all that manpower for little old me who's talking absurd on the internet. You don't need to do all that for something that's stupid and obviously false. It'll go away on its own. See what I'm saying? So when they do what they do, it does make you stop and think, like, is there any truth to what this young man is saying? Why are they doing all that? You wouldn't do that. Not at all. So you got to open your eyes, people, to see what's really going on. I digress. David Icke is a popular commentator, for those who don't know, and author of, and he's often labeled a conspiracy theorist by his detractors. Recently, had his Facebook page and YouTube channel, which is owned by Google, deleted for violating site policies by spreading coronavirus disinformation. Remember, you have a grown man who has a grown man's brain dissecting what a 14-year-old brain thought of and said was scientific method. He's dissecting that, and because he's going against the narrative, hate speech, get rid of him. The Center for Countering Digital Hate, which has been vocal about calling for Icke's deplatforming, is also pushing for the removal of all other sites and individuals who promote Icke's content in an effort to supposedly save lives. Translation: the CCDH evidently believes the public is too dumb to think for itself and must be protected from dangerous ideas. Now, maybe that went over some people's head. But then some of you are like, where did I hear that before? Is that 1984? There are those that believe that you are too dumb to think for yourself, therefore you must be protected from dangerous ideas. We've gotten to a point now where ideas are dangerous. This is the goose-stepping nanny state trying to protect us from ourselves. In the long run, the safety control, the censorship, and shadow banning of anyone who challenges a mainstream narrative will be far worse than merely allowing people to think for themselves. Journalist Matt Taibbi gets it. The people who want to add a censorship regime to a health crisis are more dangerous and more stupid by leaps and bounds than a president who tells people to inject disinfectant. Don't fall for the propaganda. These internet censors are not acting in our best interest to protect us from dangerous disinformation campaigns about COVID-19, a virus whose source and behavior continue to elude medical officials. They're laying the groundwork now with Icke as an easy target to preempt any quote-unquote dangerous ideas that might challenge the power elite stronghold over our lives. If your ideas challenge the power elite stronghold over our lives, you, ladies and gentlemen, will become a target. This is how freedom dies. It doesn't matter what disinformation Icke or Alex Jones may or may not have been spreading about COVID-19. That's not the issue. As commentator Caitlin Johnstone recognizes, the censorship of David Icke by these internet media giants has nothing to do with Icke. What matters is that we're seeing a consistent and accelerating pattern of powerful plutocratic institutions collaborating with the U.S. centralized empire to control what ideas people around the world are permitted to share with each other. And it's a very unsafe trajectory. Now, for the record, everything that David Icke said was not false. The part they did not like was when he started talking about 5G technology. If you have not seen the documentary called Plandemic, you need to hurry up and see it right now. If you think that what David Icke was saying was far-fetched, false, and crazy, you need to go watch Plandemic before they take that off the internet. All right? They don't want you to see that documentary, just like they didn't want you to see Vaxxed. All right? They didn't want you to see that. But go see it anyway. And if you've never seen the 9/11 documentary called Zero, you need to watch that too. especially if you're unclear or on the fence with 9/11. I think that will definitely open your eyes to the truth. Welcome to the age of techno-fascism. Techno-fascism, clothed in tyrannical self-righteousness, is powered by technological behemoths, both corporate and governmental, working in tandem. As journalist Chet Bowers explains, techno-fascism's level of efficiency and totalitarian potential can easily lead to repressive systems that will not tolerate dissent. We're already there, ladies and gentlemen. The internet, held as a super information highway, is increasingly becoming the police state's secret weapon. This policing of the mind is exactly the danger author Jim Keith warned about when he predicted that information and communication sources are gradually being linked together into a single computerized network, providing an opportunity for unheralded control of how will be broadcast, what will be said, and ultimately what will be taught and thought. It's a slippery slope from censoring so-called illegitimate ideas to silencing truth. Eventually, as George Orwell predicted, telling the truth will become a revolutionary act. We're almost at that point now. Now, I'm going to say we are at that point now. What you are witnessing is the modern day equivalent of book burning, which involves doing away with dangerous ideas, legitimate or not, and the people who espouse them. Today, the force of political correctness, working in conjunction with corporate and government agencies, have managed to replace actual book burning with intellectual book burning. Free speech for me, but not for thee, is how my good friend and free speech purist Nat Hentoff used to sum up this double standard. This is about much more than free speech, however. This is about repression and control. With every passing day, we're being moved further down the road towards a totalitarian society characterized by government censorship, violence, corruption, hypocrisy, and intolerance, all packaged for our supposed benefit in the Orwellian doublespeak of national security, tolerance, and so-called government speech. The reasons for such censorship vary widely, from political correctness, safety concerns, and bullying to national security and hate crimes. But the end result remains the same: the complete eradication of what Benjamin Franklin referred to as the principal pillar of a free government. The upshot of all of this editing, parsing, banning, and silencing is the emergence of a new language, what George Orwell referred to as newspeak, which places the power to control language in the hands of the totalitarian state. Under such a system, language becomes a weapon to change the way people think by changing the words they use. The end result is control. In totalitarian regimes, aka police states, where conformity and compliance are enforced at the hand of a loaded gun, the government dictates what words can and cannot be used. In countries where the police state hides behind a benevolent mask and disguises itself as tolerance, the citizens censor themselves, policing their words and thoughts to conform to the dictates of the mass mind, lest they find themselves ostracized and placed under surveillance. Is any of this starting to sound familiar to you? Even when the motives behind this rigidly calibrated reorientation of social language appear well intended, discouraging racism, condemning violence, denouncing discrimination and hatred. Inevitably, the end result is the same: intolerance, indoctrination, and infantilism. It's political correctness disguised as tolerance, civility, and love. But what it really amounts to is the chilling of free speech and the demonizing of viewpoints that run counter to the cultural elite. That's right, you guys. All the ugly kids have taken over the classroom and they've taken over the school. All the unpopular children, the ones that were called nerds and geeks and dweebs, all of the ugly kids, all the ugly girls that no one wanted to date or kiss or invite to the prom, all the little gumpy dudes who got their heads put in the toilet bowl and stuffed inside of their locker. All of them are getting their revenge because they're the ones that are running the world right now. They run all the major corporations, they run all the governments. Yes, and some of them even run the military. They're getting their revenge. We have allowed the ugly girl to tell the pretty girls how to think and feel. The ugly girl has never had a boyfriend, never had a husband. And so she's now telling the pretty girls who've had all of that that they shouldn't be happy with that and that they should join the quote unquote feminist movement. And now that is exactly what has transpired. The ugly kids have taken over the school. The police state could not ask for a better citizenry than one that carries out its own censorship, spying and policing, snitching on each other. This is how you turn a nation of free people into extensions of the omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent police state, and in the process turn the citizenry against each other. Can you say China? Trade, tread cautiously. Orwell's 1984, which depicts the ominous rise of ubiquitous technology, fascism, and totalitarianism, has become an operation manual for the omnipresent modern day surveillance state. We talked about this yesterday. The donation of 10,000 cameras that are mic'd up with audio as well as visual. The government wants to be omnipresent. It wants to be everywhere. 1984 portrays a global society of total control in which people are not allowed to have thoughts that in any way disagree with the corporate state. There is no personal freedom, and advanced technology has become the driving force behind a surveillance-driven society. Snitches and cameras are everywhere. People are subject to the thought police who deal with anyone guilty of thought crimes. Minority Report ring a bell? The government or party is headed by Big Brother, who appears on posters everywhere with the words, "Big Brother is watching you." We have arrived way ahead of schedule into the dystopian future dreamed up by not only Orwell, but also fiction writers as Aldous Huxley, Margaret Atwood, and Philip K. Dick. Much like Orwell's Big Brother in 1984, the government and its corporate spies now watch our every move. Much like Huxley's A Brave New World, we are churning out a society of watchers who have their liberties taken away from them, but rather enjoy it because they are distracted from any desire to rebel by propaganda and brainwashing. Much like Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, the populace is now taught to know their place and their duties, to understand that they have no real rights, but will be protected up to a point if they conform, and to think so poorly of themselves that they will accept their assigned fate and not rebel or run away. And in keeping with Philip K. Dick's darkly prophetic vision of a dystopian police state, which became the basis for Steven Spielberg's futuristic thriller Minority Report, We are now trapped in a world in which the government is all seeing, all knowing, and all powerful. And if you dare to step out of line, dark clad police SWAT teams and pre-crime units will crack a few skulls to bring the populace under control. It's exactly what we're seeing. What once seemed futuristic no longer occupies the realm of science fiction. Incredibly, as the various nascent technologies employed and shared by the government and corporations alike, facial recognition, iris scanners, massive databases, behavior prediction software, and so on, are incorporated into a complex, interwoven cyber network aimed at tracking our movements, predicting our thoughts, and controlling our behavior. The dystopian vision of past writers is fast becoming our reality. In fact, our world is characterized by widespread surveillance, behavior prediction technologies, data mining, fusion centers, driverless cars, voice controlled homes, facial recognition systems, cybugs and drones, and predictive policing pre-crime aimed at capturing would-be criminals before they can do any damage. Surveillance cameras are everywhere, powered by the almighty 5G network. Government agents listen in on our telephone calls and read our emails, and our privacy and bodily integrity have been utterly eviscerated. When you go through an airport, they got the full body, naked body scanners. We are increasingly ruled by multi corporations wedded to the police state. What many fail to realize is that the government is not operating alone. It cannot. The government requires an accomplice. Thus, the increasingly complex security needs of the massive federal government, especially in the areas of defense surveillance and data management, have been met within the corporate sector, which has shown itself to be a powerful ally that both depends on and feeds the growth of government overreach. In fact, big tech wedded to big government has become big brother, and we are now ruled by the corporate elite whose tentacles have spread worldwide. Why do you think, you guys, that the big Fortune 500 companies are always the first to get bailed out when they mess up? They always get bailed out because they are the government. They are part of the government. The Federal Reserve and the central banks are very smart. They knew that they need to have corporate compliance. So what they do is they backstop them. Every time there's a crisis, they take care of them. Why do you think the world was so eagerly and ready to shut down? They allowed every economy to come to a halt because the Fed, the central bank, said, look, if you do what we asked of you, we will take care of you. We will pay you so that you don't fold. We need this to happen because we're doing an exercise right now. We need absolute 100% compliance. We need people in their homes so that they don't see us putting up these 5G antennas. All right, so do this and we'll take care of you. The government now has at its disposal technological arsenals so sophisticated, and I do mean sophisticated, and invasive as to render any constitutional protections null and void. Spearheaded by the NSA, which has shown itself to care little to nothing for constitutional limits or privacy, the security industrial complex, a marriage of government, military, and corporate interests, excuse me, aimed at keeping Americans under constant surveillance, has come to dominate the government in our lives. Yep, the security industrial complex, that is what we're up against. Money, power, control. There's no shortage of motives fueling the convergence of mega corporations and government. But who is paying the price? We the people, of course. Not just we Americans, but people the world over. We have entered into a global state of tyranny, aka the beast system, aka the hive mind, aka the Borg. Where we stand now is at the juncture of old speak, where words have meanings and ideas can be dangerous, and new speak, where only that which is safe and accepted by the majority is permitted. And guess how they keep this going? Because through their propaganda and brainwashing, you American people will get triggered if someone tries to take you out of that mindset. The power elite has made their intentions clear. They will pursue and prosecute any and all words, thoughts, and expressions that challenge their authority. This is the final link in the police state chain. Americans have been conditioned to accept routine incursions on their privacy rights. In fact, the addition to screen devices, especially cell phones, I have to admit that is an addiction for a lot of people, has created a hive effect where the populace not only watched, but is controlled by AI bots. However, at one time, the idea of a total surveillance state tracking one's every move would have been abhorrent to most Americans. That all changed with the 9/11 attacks. As Professor Jeffrey Rosen observes, quote, before September the 11th, the idea that Americans would voluntarily agree to live their lives under the gaze of a network of biometric surveillance cameras peering at them in government buildings, shopping malls, subways, and stadiums would have seemed unthinkable, a dystopian fantasy of a society that had surrendered privacy and anonymity, end quote. Having been reduced to a cowering citizenry, mute in the face of elected officials who refuse to represent us, helpless in the face of police brutality, powerless in the face of militarized tactics and technology that treat us like enemy combatants on a battlefield, and naked in the face of government surveillance that sees and hears all, we have nowhere left to go, nowhere to turn. We have to speak, gone from being a nation where privacy is king to one where nothing is safe from the prying eyes of government. In search of so-called terrorists and extremists hiding amongst us, the proverbial needle in the haystack, as one official termed it, the corporate state has taken to monitoring all aspects of our lives, from cell phone calls and emails to internet activity and credit card transactions. This data is being fed through fusion centers across the country, which work with the Department of Homeland Security to make threat assessments on every citizen, including school children. Wherever you go and whatever you do, you are now being watched, especially if you leave behind an electronic footprint. When you use your cell phone, you leave a record of when the call was placed, who you called and how long it lasted, and even where you were at the time. When you use your ATM card, you leave a record of where and when you use the card. There's even a video camera at most locations equipped with facial recognition software. When you use a cell phone or drive a car enabled with GPS, you can be tracked by satellite. Such information is shared with government agents, including local police. And all this once private information about your consumer habits, your whereabouts, and your activities is now being fed to the US government. So even your phone is snitching on you. Everything in your world is snitching on you. The government has nearly inexhaustible resources when it comes to tracking our movements, from electronic wiretapping devices, traffic cameras, and biometrics to radio frequency identification cards, satellites, and internet surveillance. Speech recognition technology now makes it possible for the government to carry out massive eavesdropping by way of sophisticated computer systems. Phone calls can be monitored, the audio converted to text files, and stored in computer databases indefinitely. And if any threatening words are detected, no matter how inane or silly, the record can be flagged and assigned to a government agent for further investigation. Federal and state governments, again, working with private corporations, monitor your internet content. Users are profiled and tracked in order to identify, target, and even prosecute them, and in some cases, assassinate them. In such a climate, everyone is a suspect, and you're guilty until you can prove yourself innocent. That's why they created the National Defense Authorization Act, so that they can ghost you without reading you your rights, suspending your constitutional rights, and they can hold you indefinitely without charges and deny your right to legal representation and a speedy trial. You are automatically assumed guilty until you can prove otherwise. Here's what a lot of people fail to understand. However, it's not just what you say or do that is being monitored, but how you think that it's being tracked and targeted. We've already seen this play out on the state and federal level with hate crime legislation that cracks down on so-called hateful thoughts and expression, encourages self-censoring, and reduces free debate on various subject matter. See, this was done to squash all non-conformity, all non-compliance. People censor themselves to the point where they are incapable of free debate on various subject matter. Free debate on various subject matter was assigned for assassination, and we didn't even realize it. We didn't know it because we were too busy being programmed to quote unquote be triggered. You know, that's mind control, okay? That's MK Ultra mind control. Every US citizen has been MK Ultra mind controlled since you were able to speak. As soon as you go to preschool, that's when the propaganda begins. So by the time you're an adult, you're triggered by certain key words and phrases where you shut down and can no longer continue. You are now physically incapable of independent thought. Say hello to the new thought police. Total internet surveillance by the corporate state, as omnipresent as God, is used by the government to predict and, more importantly, control the populace. And it's not as far-fetched as you might think. For example, the NSA has designed an artificial intelligence system that can anticipate your every move. In a nutshell, the NSA feeds vast amounts of the information it collects to a computer system known as AQUAINT. The acronym stands for Advanced Question Answering for Intelligence, which the computer then uses to detect patterns and predict behavior. No information is sacred or spared. Everything from cell phone recordings and logs to emails to text messages to personal information posted on social networking sites to credit card statements to library circulation records to credit card histories, etc., is collected by the NSA and shared freely with its agents. Thus, what we are witnessing in the so-called name of security and efficiency is the creation of a new class system comprised of the watched, averaged Americans such as you and me, and the watchers, government bureaucrats, technicians, and private corporations. Clearly, the age of privacy is at an end. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? We now find ourselves in the uninevitable position of being monitored, managed, and controlled by our technology, which answers not to us, but to our government and corporate rulers. This is the fact, and the fact is stranger than fiction, lesson that is being pounded into us on a daily basis. It won't be long before we find ourselves looking back on the past with longing, back to an age where we could speak to whom we wanted, buy what we wanted, think what we wanted without those thoughts, words, and activities being tracked, processed, and stored by corporate giants such as Google, sold to government agencies such as the NSA and the CIA, and used against us by militarized police with their army of futuristic technologies. To be an individual today, to not conform, to have even a shred of privacy, and to live beyond the reach of the government's roaming eyes and technological spies, one must not only be a rebel, but rebel. Even when you rebel and take your stand, there is rarely a happy ending awaiting you. You are rendered an outlaw. So, how do you survive this global surveillance state? As I make clear in my book, Battlefield America, The War on the American People, we're running out of options. We'll soon have to choose between self-indulgence, the bread and circus distractions offered up by the news media, politicians, sports conglomerates, entertainment industry, etc., and self-preservation in the form of renewed vigilance about threats to our freedoms and active engagement in self-governance. Yet, as Aldous Huxley acknowledged in Brave New World Revisited, only the vigilant can maintain their liberties, and only those who are constantly and intelligently on the spot can hope to govern themselves effectively by democratic procedures. A society, most of whose members spend a great part of their time not on the spot, not here and now, and in their calculable future, but somewhere else, in the irrelevant other worlds of sport and soap opera, of mythology and metaphysical fantasy, will find it hard to resist the encroachments of those would resist the encroachments of those would manipulate and control it. Which brings me back to this techno-fascist tyranny being meted out on David Icke and Alex Jones and many others, and all those like him who dare to voice their ideas that diverge from what the government and its corporate controllers deem to be acceptable. The problem, as I see it, is that we've already ourselves to be persuaded that we need someone else to think and speak for us. And we've allowed ourselves to become so timid in the face of offensive words and ideas that we bought into the idea that we need the government to shield us from that which is ugly or upsetting or mean. The result is a society in which we've stopped debating amongst ourselves, stopped thinking for ourselves, stopped believing that we can fix our own problems and resolve our own differences. In short, we have reduced ourselves to a largely silent, passive, polarized populace incapable of working through our own problems and reliant on the government to protect us from our fears. In this way, we have become our worst enemy. You want to reclaim some of the ground we fast losing to the techno tyrants? Start by thinking for yourself. If that means reading the dangerous ideas being floated out there by the David Ikes and Alex Jones, etc. of the world, or the John Whiteheads for that matter, and then deciding for yourself what is true, so be it. As Orwell concluded, freedom is the right to say 2 plus 2 make 4. That right there is some very powerful stuff to think about. We definitely need to think long and hard about what we just heard today. And I'm telling you, I know most of us have not and will not do it because your programming has been so complete. And it's not all your fault. I know it's not. So I want you guys just to marinate on what was said today. If you have to go back and replay this, then go ahead and do it. Do what you got to do. Handle your business because it is time sensitive. It is important information. All right. We got to know what time it is so that we can act and do what we need to do. All right. Time is running out. I've already talked about that. It's running out. You know, it won't be long now before civil war and civil unrest starts to take place. You got Trigger in the Aussie. All right. What's up? Ride them pulse waves, Kyle. You know what it is. All right. So that's all for today, folks. We have come to the conclusion of this pre-market PulseScan live broadcast. And since we have been live, the U.S. stock index futures have been rallying and taking out the overnight highs. The only question that is left right now is where will we take out yesterday's highs and then proceed to close above it? That's what I want to see. I want to see that. If we can see that, then I think we on to something. I think we in the game. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what happens. Go PulseWaves. If you are not already taking advantage of the PulseWave price trigger reports, the most concise reports available today on the markets. We cover many markets from all around the world, most exchanges, equities, commodity futures, forex, and we have the top 20 cryptocurrencies. So you want to come and take advantage of that. PulseWaveTrading.com, you know what it is. And remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back to the greedy market. And I'm out. See the rest of you guys in the trading room. Everyone else, I'll see you this evening for the end of day report. And I'm out.